So again, welcome everybody. I'm Ginger Bowler, and yes, my voice is hoarse right now. I don't normally sound like this, but I straightened my voice over the weekend. So yes, I'm using light therapy, and I didn't use it today or yesterday, but um, I'm going to get right on it after we get done with this webinar. So today's topic is understanding energy and light therapy. A lot of you all have taken the certification program, or you know a lot about the science of light, or maybe you know a lot about energy. I've devoted my adult life to the pursuit of understanding energy, and why would we want to understand that anyway? And what difference does it make anyway in our lives? And what things affect us in the energy field that helps us to have a better experience of life, and what things actually drain our energy. So everything that I do in my career and in my life is in this pursuit to understand energy. Ever since I was a little child, I wanted to make sure that that my people weren't going to die. That's the bottom line. I'm from a very large family, and it was very frightening for me, the idea of having no understanding of illness, sickness, disease, and just feeling totally out of control when somebody would get sick, that I didn't know how to help them in any way. And so at the young age of 16, I started to read all of the Edgar Cayce books to try to understand what this sleeping prophet knew about a human being that I didn't know. And so I started at 16 in my pursuit with, back then, the Prevention magazine was the foremost authority on natural healing. It was really an authentic document, and I would spend all my babysitting money on supplements. Went on to own a supplement business, etc. So I've been in the field. I've been teaching for 30 years. Started with teaching Hannah Kroger's work, and she was a great healer. And naturopathic physician. She was a nurse. She was a minister. She was a lot of things. So again, this whole thing keeps pointing to the different modalities and the different interests I have, is because of how it helps us humans to have a healthier life and to heal ourselves and help others. Okay. So what we're going to look at is just a real brief overview of the human energy field. I know a lot of you are watching this either live or in the recording. You're maybe, an expert at the information field or the human energy field, but I have to. I'm going to like nobody knows anything. So we'll go over the rules for understanding energy, the impact on the field, and we're going to end with Dr. Emoto's work with messages from water, because I want to tie it all together, and then tie that into, well, then what does light therapy have to do with this anyway? So for our context for this webinar, it's that everything is energy vibrating at its own unique frequency. And a frequency can be thought of as an energetic signature, a sort of an energetic blueprint. So, for example, your name, a lot of us that are in this field of energy medicine, so I do have a doctorate in energy medicine, and a lot of us in this field, whether you have an advanced degree or you've just been working in it forever, we use like biofeedback devices or distance healing devices that actually, or in the same way, prayer. If you think of praying, you don't always have that person in front of you when you're praying for that person, but you use their name. And so it's the same concept, in that there's only one of those people on the planet with that name, born in that place, in that location. And so that's an energetic signature. You can think of it sort of like a snowflake. Every snowflake is uniquely different. And so every energy signature for a human being is different from anybody else's on the planet. So human beings are energy beings. And human beings have an energy field that surrounds them, and we think of it as the aura or the field. So this field around us, and I know that you all know this, and I often, when I do these courses, I really know I'm preaching to the choir. And so that you have a, a great understanding of a lot of this, but let's pretend like you don't, because if we all knew everything, we wouldn't need to have any classes. So, and I also believe that the teacher teaches what she needs to learn. And so the more I teach this, the more I understand it myself. The field is intelligent. What does that mean? It means that when you walk into a room, let's say, and your energy field walks right on in with you, and if you knew nothing about what was happening on the other side of that wall that you were walking into, but you walked in and everybody there was just so happy, your field would get uplifted and you would feel happy. The contrary is true. How many times have you walked into an environment where maybe people just had a big fight and you can't hear anybody fighting, but you can feel the energy field. You get a pit in your stomach, the energy feels denser. So the field is intelligent. It's giving and receiving information all the time. And so we're sending out signals all the time, beep, 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 beep. And then there's this matching signal that will come. So we have to be very careful about these signals that we're sending. Now, my teacher, Hannah Kroger, told us that stressors could be detected in the energy field up to 2 years prior to the disease manifesting as an illness or a condition. So we'll look at the aura there. So this is not my graphic. It's something we borrowed from somebody. We've cited it right there. But that just shows the different chakra systems, starting with the red at the base of the base chakra all the way up to the crown chakra, where it's a purplish color up there. And you can just see that in the information field and in the auric field, and there are many, and I know you know this, there are many, many devices that can measure that this field actually is real, it exists, they can take pictures of it. And so this just shows you some of the different layers or coverings of the soul. Okay, so here's another graphic. Again, sorry that the citation is not on this slide, but we borrowed this one also. And so if we look at this, very, very simple, that the physical body, right in the center there, the black, the body itself, most of us humans, what we believe is that we are our physical body. We say, I'm upset, or I'm sick, and we point to our body. We don't point out here to the field, like there's a disturbance in the field. And Hannah Kroger would always tell us, if people think they are their physical body, then work with their physical body, because they don't even know they have these other layers of their body. And healing can happen in any of the layers, because what we're trying to do is to bring the body back into alignment, into resonance with health. So in this graphic, for example, if we look at the mental body out about 3 levels, and then the emotional body is a little bit closer to the physical body, and then you have the etheric body, which is very, very close to the form itself. So what does that mean? It means, for example, we have a thought in the mental body. And the thought might be something like, well, they don't really like me, and they're probably not going to invite me to the Christmas party. So that makes me feel bad. So that's a thought first. And then we get an upset stomach, and we have we have an emotional reaction. You might start crying or whatever, and then our stomach hurts. That's a physical reaction. So the mental, emotional, physical impresses on the body, and then we manifest a physical condition. Tying it in right now to light therapy, the reason I love the light therapy, and you all, I know those of you all watching the webinar, a lot of you use the system we use. We use the Enlight system. We have an Avalon system. We have a couple of other different light therapy devices. I know you use different ones, so you'll just have to modify this. to the device that you use. But the reason I love light therapy is because we're literally flooding the system with light. And a lot of times these denser, darker thought forms, say out in the mental body, I'll do it over here so you can see it better, you put the lights on and sometimes it just goes away, which is really super cool. Now, having said that, all of this information that I am presenting right now, this is my personal opinion, not based on, some of it based on science because I've studied in a lot of the research, but a lot of it is from my own understanding. Hold on just one second. Can we mute just a second? Just read the screen. I'll be right back. Okay, so when the field is affected, the human is impacted. So in energy medicine, we want to understand the effect on the human body, the human being, the human energy field, as well as the entire field, by increasing or raising the vibration to the higher vibrations of light. So we're going to be looking at my energy model in just a few minutes. And again, if look at the word light, into the higher vibrations of light. So if the whole game is get to the light, which that's what it is, as far as I can tell, get to the light is the game of life. Because in the light is where we're healthy, happy, life feels good to us. So in light therapy, we're literally flooding the human being in the energy field with light. And the higher the vibration of the field, the less the denser, slower, and non-beneficial energies. Okay. So some of us are dowsers, and we're not going to go over that today, but this slide's in here because a lot of us learn to just measure energy fields with dowsing devices. That's something you might want to look into. There's a lean test that we teach in all of our classes about how the body and the being naturally moves with the truth. So I'll show it to you really quickly. You can practice it on your own. But let's see if I'm high enough for the, here we go. It's cutting off my head. I'll do it this way. Our camera's lower. So the thing is that we're attracted to things that are good for us and truthful, and our body will lean forward. Things that are not the truth or not good for us, we're repelled by them and the body moves backwards. So if you start to realize that your body is an antenna, your spine is an antenna, and it's picking up signals. Okay, that's why sometimes you have a chill that runs up the back of your spine when something's good or exciting or scary. Okay, because there's actually an antenna. So with the lean test, you can practice it going, show me yes, and your body will just lean forward. Now put my hands on my chest just because your hands will try to, stabilize yourself and balance yourself. So I just put them here, show me yes, and my body moves forward. Show me no, my body moves backwards. And if it's maybe, it usually goes like this. What does that mean in reality and how can we use that? Well, sometimes somebody's telling you something and you want to know, is that the truth or not? Maybe they even think it's the truth. But if your body's slamming backwards, there's a really good chance that something that they said was not truthful. Okay, so just practice with that. It can be fun. I've written a couple of books. Here's my first book, Listening and Communicating with Energy. As I said, I've spent my adult life trying to understand energy. And so this is the book of me chasing Hannah Kroger around the planet, basically, and other healers trying to understand what is it that they understood that I did not understand, and how could I understand energy better. It's available on Amazon.com or energyevents.us. You can order it directly from us. So, as I said before, through the years of struggling, what did Hannah understand, and what did she mean when she was talking about energy and vibration? I came up with this model to understand why things work when they work, and when they don't work, why they don't work, and it's because it's all energy. So let's get some terms that she used to use. So when she would douse a body or a thing, measure the energy, she would commonly say, and she had a thick German accent, she'd say, "Oh, that has no vibration." And she'd be looking sad. And so I knew that meant she didn't like it. And then if she'd go, "Oh, that has a very high vibration," she'd get all happy and she'd smile. And so I knew that meant that was a good thing, because 30 years ago, vibration and frequency and all that, that's just not the way we were talking back then. So vibration is simply the rate at which a frequency oscillates, and frequency is the oscillation of volts and amps. You don't have to know any of that to understand energy, but everything is energy vibrating in its own unique frequency. That's the important part. And this is our context for our understanding energy model. So in science, for a model to be a model, it has to work every time. So this is a very overly simplified model for understanding a very complex subject of energy. But it's beneficial because it helps us to understand where we're making our energetic errors, and helps us to understand how to correct those errors. So I call it the above the line, below the line model. And so for our model, we're going to speak of the higher vibrations of light as being above the line, and the lower vibrations, the slower, denser, darker vibrations, as being below the line. Okay, so those things that make us happy, healthy, those are all higher vibration. The things that take our energy from us, make us feel bad, that's of a lower vibration. So this is very simple graphics here, but there's the light. And I speak of the light, if I felt like I wasn't going to offend anybody religiously, I would just go right for saying God, because God is the light. But I have learned that nobody gets upset if I talk about the light, and everybody can interpret it according to your own spiritual, beliefs. But God, our source, divinity, this is what we're aspiring to. This energy field, this highest, most ultimate field. Very recently, I've gotten some real wonderful distinctions, but they will be a webinar for a future time. But some more clarifications to this particular model. So one thing, most of us, no matter what our religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs are, we can agree that we were made in the image and likeness of God. If that's true, which I believe it is, that is the image and likeness of perfection. So higher vibrational beings, angels, holy people, I think each one of us on this webinar could think of someone that when we're around them, we just feel better. We just feel better. And everybody feels better around that person. If you think about that person, that's usually someone who's really authentically, wonderfully good. It could be the janitor at the school. It doesn't have to be someone with some ABCs behind their name. But someone maybe that's not even recognized as a good and holy person, everybody feels better around them. You can believe they're vibrating at a higher rate. Maybe the coach of the football team. Okay, so all or most spiritual traditions that I know of use some form of prayer, meditation, singing, chanting, some music to lift the vibrations into the higher vibrations of light. There are many things. We need to figure out what are our things that raise the vibration. So happiness, appreciation, love, joy, all of this is of a higher vibration, where consciousness, awareness, truth, integrity exist in these higher vibrations. So positive, uplifting thoughts, words, deeds, blessing, positive intention, all of that really does do something. It means something. uh, a lot of people say, oh, don't go with that positive thinking stuff. That doesn't do anything. No, actually it does do something, because it will shift the lower field into a higher energy, where positive emotions like love, forgiveness, joy, laughter, kindness, compassion, empathy. Kindness is one of, I don't know if anybody read the book Love Without End, when Glenda Green had a 4-month visitation with Jesus, like in person, when she was able to paint his portrait. It's a fabulous book. If you haven't read it, do it. Because it wasn't a channeled experience, it was a experience. And she's a famous artist. And she took notes when he was talking. And this happened about 20 years ago. And he said that kindness was one of the most undervalued of all the great things that a person could be, is kind. I can't remember these exact words, but those are the higher vibrations. So this is where health and balance. If we're using light therapy because we want to be healthy and we want to be in balance and we want to be happy, what is it doing? It's lifting the lower energies, in my opinion, into the higher vibrations. So this is why I use the different modalities I use, and you all use the different modalities you use, is because if they're working, it's because it's shifting the denser energy into the higher energies. So light therapy for us, biogenesis, Hannah Kroger's work, essential oils, all these other holistic modalities. If they're working because of their effect on the energy field. So why do we want to have good, organic foods, pure foods, good, pure water, good foods? It's because they're already higher in vibration. And if we're trying to lift our vibration from a lower state to a higher state, then it makes sense that what we're actually taking into our body would already be of a higher state. So herbs, homeopathics, vitamins, minerals, nutrients, as long as they're of a good quality, the idea is that they lift the energy. I remember Hannah saying 30 years ago, her herbal formulas are so high in vibration that's sometimes, and at the time I was living in Louisiana, where I'm from. And I remember one time calling her and saying, Hannah, somebody had an issue. I can't even remember what it was. And it was a guy. And that's all I remember about it. And so she told me what herbal remedy to give him of hers, and I didn't have it. And I said, I don't have that. It would take a week to get it down to Louisiana. It was kind of a critical situation. And she said, well, give him whatever you have. And I said, all I have is the female balance, or the women's gold, the female products. She said, it doesn't matter. Give it to him because it's so high in vibration. Right now, we're just trying to get his vibration up. And I said, that was a concept for me. Now, of course, it matters in the big scheme of things that we, want to support the male's hormonal system and the female's hormonal system, differently. But as far as vibration, if you're trying to raise the vibration of something because someone's depressed, and depression is an energy term, meaning a lower energy field. What do you want to do? Anything you can to uplift the person. And sometimes that might be something as simple as playing some music, or taking a herbal supplement, or making them laugh. Okay, you get it. So laughter, nature, friendship, fun, exercise, as long as you like exercise, all of that brings our energy into the higher vibrations. So now we're going to look at the stuff that actually drains our energy field. And a lot of times we're doing this to ourselves. So complaining, nagging, bragging, gossiping. So sometimes you need to complain about something because something needs to be fixed. This is the distinction. If we complain to the person or people who can do something about the situation, it does not have the same energetic effect as just complaining. How many times have you felt wonderful? And then somebody comes into your field and they're complaining about school, or they're complaining about work, or they're complaining about the traffic, or complaining about, you start complaining, and all of a sudden you're just like, you start to feel the energy just draining out of your body. Well, that's because complaining or gossiping or whatever literally taps the energy field and starts to drain it. And that energy field in the higher vibrations of light, that's our life force. So energy by its very nature, it wants to move, okay? And we want to keep it moving up. So dead, chemicalized food, drink, and water, heavily processed and microwave foods, all of that have a very hard impact on the energy field. So that's another reason why we would like to have good quality, pure, organic foods and water whenever we can. Foods that have been cursed over, or someone was angry when they were serving that food or making that food. I tell you, when someone's upset and they're upset over the food, honestly, I'd rather not eat the food, because I know I'm going to be taking that vibration in, and I don't want it. And because the food will absorb the energy from the arguments or the anger. Well, let me go back a step. So Hannah Kroger would say that she would rather have processed foods that someone had prayed over than to have organic food that someone was angry when they served it. So that was a big lesson for me. So think about that. And Hannah also would say to us that energy always wants to return to its source. So if you're having to eat macaroni and cheese or something because that's what you have, or maybe because you just want some right now, and well, that's pretty processed in most cases. I mean, you could make it, I guess, with good ingredients. But, to pray over that food and bless that food raises the energy of the food and would make it more beneficial for you. So negative emotions such as hatred, jealousy, resentment, lack of forgiveness, making another person wrong. Boy, it's like an epidemic right now, I think, of make wrong, like blaming people for, the way that our lives are or your lives are, this make wrong. It's, even if it's justified, it totally will drain the energy field. So, emotions by their very nature are not really negative or positive. But it's the replaying of and the holding on. Like you can have, a holy anger. I mean, Jesus threw the tax collectors out of the temple. Okay, he had a holy anger, right? So you can have somebody's going to go hurt your child. You're going to have an anger, and that doesn't make it negative. But what makes an energy negative is the come from, where you're coming from, but also the replaying of the story and telling it over and over and over again is what can kind of, take the energy right out of, or make an emotion negative. So critical judgment, self-pity, dramatizing events. How many of you on this webinar can just think of drama queens or drama kings? They just dramatize everything, and everything's a big deal. That has a very negative effect usually on the energy field. How many of you can think of someone who has told you the same story over and over and over again till you're like, oh my God, if they tell me one more time, I don't know what I'm going to do. Right, because they're getting some sort of payoff by dramatizing the event or the situation or the circumstance. And the payoff, sometimes you're paying with your own energy and your energy field. So this is where the dis-ease comes in, the lack of ease of flow of the energy field. Does this mean that a person with the disease is a bad person? Not at all. That does not mean that. a saint can have a disease. Because if we go back to the different levels of the body, of the energy field, the information field, we can have saintness out here, but you could still have some condition in the physical body. So be careful of, a lot of times people start to understand energy and they start to say, oh, well, if that person, like when Hannah died, oh, if she was such a saint, which she never claimed to be, then why did she die? Oh my gosh. Okay, well, if death is a failure, then at the end of our lives, all of us fail. Who does that make sense to? Nobody. So death is not a failure, and nor is disease, but it is a disturbance in the energy field and some non-beneficial energies, some alignment with something that's not the truth. So we want to get back to the integrity of the energy field and the alignment to the field so that we're going right into the light, and everything that we can do to get back into that alignment, whether it's playing music, praying, meditating, speaking in tongues, reading holy books, running, whatever it is that we can get back into alignment, that's what it is. If you look at that sun and you look at the source and you think of it as a big battery, we've got to get connected and stay connected to source energy, because that's where all the answers are. Okay. And then disconnection from our source is what makes us feel sick. Allowing the mind to think negative thoughts, dwelling on what we don't like and what we don't want, all of this is of a lower energy. Negative entities, dark forces, the guy with the horns, the absence of light, all of that, that's the darkness. So we have the darkness and we have the light. It's your choice. Where do you want to be? It seems like everybody would say, well, I want to be up in the light. Well, that's what it seems like, but that's actually not the case. I do think it's the case for most people, not all people. And we're going to look at that phenomenon in a minute, because that's their business, and your soul and your light and your consciousness is your business. So the journey is life. The goal is light, God, love, peace, oneness with the divine principle, connection to source. You've heard it before. We're spiritual beings having a human life, and not just human beings with a spirit. Our energy field is fueled, by our connection to our source, and that's God. So climbing or ascending the vibrational ladder of life, here we go. It's something that we have to do ourselves. So now we're going to talk about the 16 rules for understanding energy. So number one is like energy begets like energy. So happy people get more happy people. Upset, angry people get more upset, angry people. People who fail all the time hang around a lot, usually are hanging around with people who fail all the time. People who succeed are hanging around with people who are successful. Like begets like. 2, doing things below the line pull you below the line. That's just simple. So a lot of times we do that to ourselves. We were in a higher state. We start doing things that are of a negative nature, and before you know it, we're in a lower state. Number 3, there's no such thing as hovering. You're either moving up or down the vibrational scale with every thought, activity, emotion, and so on. You can't hover. By the way, on our website, energyevents.us, there is a section with the model and the 16 rules for you all. If you were trying to take notes and I'm going too fast, you can just go on and print those PDFs. Also, these rules are in my book, Listening and Communicating with Energy. So you can't hover. You're moving up or down the scale. So that's why we have to become such good stewards of our thought processes. Because a lot of times a person's doing everything right by everybody else's state, like, wow, looks like, she's keeping things neat, and she's doing this and that and the other, but maybe in the thoughts, the signal that's going out is not nice thoughts. And so this has an impact because that signal would be lower and it would attract other lower energies. Number 4, things above the line have the power to take you above the line. Things above the line have the power to take you above the line when you've fallen below the line. So that's why each of us have to know what are our higher vibrational activities. For me, it's music is one, whether it's pretty music on the radio or it's playing the piano. I mean, I know a total of 4 songs on the piano, but it still has the same effect on me. If I put my hands on the keyboard and I just start playing, within about 30 seconds, my energy shifted. On my guitar, same thing. So flowers, that's another thing. Talking to my sisters or my siblings, that's another thing. It always shifts my energies into the higher energy. So we each have to figure out what our higher vibrational things are so that we can quickly move to one of those when we've fallen below the line. Number 5, things below the line do not have the power to take you above the line, no matter how unfair that seems. So one of the things I like to say about that is you can't complain your way out of hell. It just doesn't work. You know, some people just try to just blah, 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 thinking that that's going to do something to put you or to put the situation into a higher light, and it's not. Period. Energy doesn't work that way. Number 6, you can't cheat in this energy game. You can be love and enlightened on people all day long, but if you're really thinking, bitch, you know, like that, that's what's going to be coming through in the energy field. You can't cheat. I know each of us can think of a time when we received an email, let's say, or a text message, where maybe the words said something different than the energy that you got from it, okay? That maybe the words didn't, you know, that when you opened it up, you were repelled by it, or you knew the person was angry when they sent it to you. That's what that rule number 6 means. Here's the big one. Number 7, no one else is responsible for you falling below the line. This one's huge. However, others do influence our ability to stay above the line, sometimes a lot. So we have to be very careful of the company that we keep. This means the company in our own consciousness as well as the physical company in other people. Now, a lot of people say, well, now how is that possible? Because, you know, maybe it's my mother-in-law, or maybe it's my husband, or maybe it's my... Yep, well, those people still have a lot to do with our ability to stay above the line. And that's just something to consider. Number 8, it is easier to stay above the line when we surround ourselves with others who spend most of their time above the line. For those of us interested in energy, you can look into your life, into the people that are in your lives, and you can see that the more negative people, the more you understand energy, the more you've left those negative people behind. And why? This is the reason. Because, you know, a drowning person can't save another drowning person. So we want to surround ourselves with people who keep us or help us to stay in a higher state. Because that's where true happiness exists, is above the line. It's pretty simple. That's number 9. Number 10. People who spend a lot of time below the line do not necessarily want to, sorry about that, you all. Sorry, someone came in. People who spend a lot of time below the line do not necessarily want to live above the line. If they thrive on dark or upset energy, it is necessary for them to stay there to get their energy. Okay, this one should have 5 stars. And, you know, through the years of me teaching my energy model, I've struggled with this one myself because I want to think that everybody wants to be good and wonderful human beings. And the truth is that's not true. Not everybody wants to be good and wonderful human beings. A lot, a lot of people just thrive on being upset. They like chaos, they like upset, and it's necessary for them to have it, for them to get their energy. I call this the modern day energy vampire. Okay, that no matter, no matter how happy everybody is, they can find something to be upset about. Okay, and if there's not any upset around, they know how to create it. They know what to talk about, and because this is how they get their energy. And you can think of it as an energy manipulator, a misuser of energy. I call it energy vampire. Number 11, it is not your job to get others out of darkness. This one's a really big one, or above the line. You have enough work to do keeping yourself above the line. Now, this doesn't mean this, it doesn't mean we're not supposed to help people. Of course, we're supposed to help people. That's what most of us love to do, is to help others. But everybody's got to climb that vibrational ladder themselves. And the best way that we can help others is to keep ourselves above the line. And then someone who's in a lower state can make that choice to come up into the light. So the more we shine our own light with our good works, with our good attitude, our good speaking, thinking, healing, the more we can do that, true service naturally comes from that place. Number 12, a teeny tiny bit of light eradicates darkness. So, every time you lift yourself, that helps to eradicate the darkness for everybody. Number 13, you will fall below the line. Do not panic and judge yourself, as self-criticism only gets you more down below the line. So you want to acknowledge where you are and do something above the line to get yourself back there fast. For me, let's go throw the lights on. That's one of the easiest things for me, is to use my light therapy and get back above the line really fast. Number 14, after continued practice and perseverance at staying above the line, it does get easier to stay above the line. We all know that because we're living that now. So number 15, for those traveling the path of enlightenment, that's what I call it, enlightenment. You may call it the spiritual path or just life or whatever, but time below the line seems inevitable. I mean, it's life. We're going to fall below the line. This time helps us to develop and understand the suffering and trials of others, and helps us to develop the needed compassion, empathy, understanding. So you know what, from that perspective, time at any place in the game is valuable, and that's because the game is life. So number 16 says, add your own rules as your understanding increases. A little aside, little known, well, I've shared this, but I hope you all believe in angels, but it's not necessary for you to believe in angels just because you're listening to my energy presentation. But it's my angels, a group of angels, that gave me these 16 rules. So I call this, my work, because most people don't believe that angels can, a lot of people don't believe that you can get messages from angels. But one day, many, many years ago, as I was struggling to understand energy, I heard the angels say to me, if you really want to understand energy, then go get a pencil and paper, and we're going to tell you how this goes. So they had me draw the little energy model and then gave me these 16 rules, and they came out exactly just like what we just went over. And I've taught this around the world, and this model works. It's fascinating, but throughout all these years of teaching this, I never thought that I would have a 16, adding my own rules as my understanding increases. I thought you all would add things, not necessarily me. But as it turns out, in the last 2 years, my understanding of energy has increased greatly. It fits very well with what we just went over. And like I said, it's the information, for a future webinar. But Yeah, it's a refinement, I would say. Now we'll just real quickly look at Dr. David Hawkins, who had his own version of above the line, below the line. He didn't call it that, of course, but what he did was he calibrated human consciousness, emotions, teachings, etc. And his scale was 0 to 100, and he determined that above 200 on his scale was where true consciousness and true power started. And below 200 was unconsciousness. So, you just may want to go and look at Dr. Hawkins' book, Power versus Force, one of the best books I ever read. Now we look at the power of words. But before we go there, I want to just have Luke come in and see if we have any questions before we go to Emoto's work. So he's going to unmute you right now. And if you have any questions, am I going too fast or anything anybody needs to tell me before we go on?
I do have a question from you. This is Amy from Wellness Center.
Hi, Amy.
Hi. So during your presentation, there was a power surge here at our office, and I missed some of it, and I would like to know if there was any way to review this someplace else.
Oh, that's great. Yes, all of our webinars that we're recording right now are available free on our website, energyevents.us. You can also get there with the energyeventsglobal.com address, but you'll see up in the toolbar it says webinars, and I think we have about 6 of them now, 5 or 6 of them. We'll continue to do them, but yes, as soon as this is over, within about the hour or so after it's over, it will be posted.
It's a wonderful presentation, and I feel so grateful to be watching it. So I'm sorry that I missed some, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. Okay, anybody else? Okay. So now we're going to look at Dr. Emoto's work. A lot of you all have seen this, but now I'm going to pull it into the conversation of understanding energy and what affects our energy field, and also the power of words, and then how all of that is enhanced with our light therapy, the various light therapy devices we have. So Dr. Emoto was a Japanese researcher. He passed away a few years ago, as Dr. David Hawkins also did. So, they left a powerful amount of work behind for us to increase our understanding of energy and how everything we do, makes a difference. So Dr. Emoto, what he did was he had very high-powered camera lenses and very big freezers, and he looked at the effect of words on water. And so he demonstrated through his work with frozen water samples. So what he would do is freeze the water, and when it was thawing, take photographs of the water. And then he would offer different words to the water to see what the effect was. So his first book is called Messages from Water. Everybody should have his books, I think, some of them, in your library. So what he said is that I learned that no 2 snowflakes were identical. And I thought, well, okay, snow is water. If snow has crystals, then water should too when it's frozen. Okay, so this was, like I said, he photographed the water, and he froze the water, and he thought it out. He took this was the very first photograph in the beginning of his book, Messages from Water. So he looked at tap water, and you can see that if water is giving life-forming crystal information, it forms these gorgeous hexagonal crystals. So this was tap water from Nagoya, Japan. And it had some properties, but you can see that on the right side, it couldn't totally form it. He said tap water doesn't usually form the beautiful hexagonal crystals like a healthy water would. So this is tap water from Tokyo, Japan. And here's that tap water from Nagoya, Japan. This is tap water from Paris, France. London, England. Then he said he wanted to look at music. So what if you just played music to water? What would happen? So he said, and remember, our bodies are 70 to 90% water. So anything that affects the water affects our body. So beautiful music does have an organizing effect upon the water. And here's how we know. So this was one of Mozart's pieces, and he played it to water, and this is what the crystal looked like. Here's another piece. Here's Canon in D major by Pachelbel. He said, our body, mind, and water respond to good music. Here's March number 1 by Elgar. See, it's so gorgeous. And all different, too. Here's another, I think that slide's just out of place. Here was a piece of heavy metal music. Obviously, the information wasn't of that piece of music wasn't very beneficial. So he said, I think music was created to bring our vibration back to its intrinsic state. It's human nature to create music that readjusts the vibrations distorted by history. And so he said, that made me think if this one's out of order, sorry, but he was thinking about giving information with words to water. And so he said, that made me think if photographs can provide information. So for those of us that use distance equipment like Indigo, Skio, any of these energy devices that we have, you can use a person's photograph, or a lot of the different healing modalities. You can use their photograph, you can use their name or whatever he said. But if a photograph can provide information, then maybe the patient's name can too, which of course we know it can. So he says, I measured Hado. Hado is life force off a patient's name, and I found that it could. So a person's name can provide information, just like photos can give us energetic information, because the person's name gives us an energetic signature. So he's going to show us some of the exposing how he does this. So you see, it's just a bottle of water, and he wrote a word on it, and then he's going to tape that on the bottle. Then he's going to freeze the bottle of water, and when it's thawing, he's going to take the photographs. He said, I thought that water might have the ability to sense vibration and give us some answers. So here's thank you. Look at the beautiful hexagonal crystal. Negative words do not have the ability to form the beautiful hexagonal crystals on the water. Here's you fool. You make me sick, I will kill you. Look at that. It looks like a little man holding out a gun like that with an eye patch on, doesn't it? You make me sick, I will kill you. Very interesting that it actually created the shape of someone posturing to kill. Positive words in any language have an organizing effect upon the shape of the water and the ability of the water to form the beautiful hexagonal crystals. Because he asked himself this question, well, maybe water just likes Japanese. What about these other languages? So here you go. Thank you in French. Beautiful. Thank you in Chinese. Beautiful. See, this isn't, oh, you're the most wonderful human being in the world, and I just think about, no, this is just thank you. I mean, isn't that powerful? Water reacts to the information that it's given. So Dr. Emoto's work clearly demonstrates to us that water reacts to the information it's given. If the information or the energy is of a high vibration, beautiful hexagonal crystals develop. If the water or the energy is of a low or chaotic or dark nature, the water is not able to form the crystals. Whatever the information we use, the Skio or Indigo, quantum pulsar, biogenesis, light therapy, essential oils. If it's working and it's uplifting, it's because it's giving new information to the cells. Perhaps this new information, these higher frequencies, act like a tuning fork to the cells, allowing the cells to tune up to these higher, healthier frequencies. So here's another one, let's. Let's, instead of you must clean up your room, how about let's go clean up the room? Different frequency, a different vibration altogether. Here's must. Looks like a hookworm to me. You must go clean that up. The words can be written, spoken, or even just thought. They seem to have the same effect on the water. That's why I said earlier, one of the rules, you can't cheat in the energy game. If you're thinking nasty stuff or someone's thinking nasty stuff about you, you can feel it. Remember, or if they're thinking wonderful thoughts, you can feel that too. Remember, the human body is composed of 70 to 90% water. So here's war. It might be a lofty idea at the top there. Doesn't seem to work out real well at the bottom. Here's peace. It's a crystal on top of a crystal on top of a crystal. Love and thanks. Dr. Emoto said by far the most beautiful, exquisite of all the crystals was some form of love and gratitude or love and thanks. So now in the next few slides, you're going to see the result of an experiment where this young family, they wanted to test Dr. Emoto's theories with words, but they didn't have the high-powered equipment. So they decided that they would use cooked white rice for their experiment. So for 1 month, they told one of the containers of cooked white rice, called it a full, you full. And the other one, they said thank you to for 1 month. The results are unquestionable as to the power of words. This experiment has been repeated many times by others. The container that was called a fool. Now, this is not some of the nasty stuff we hear in our culture of people being called names, which I will not repeat. This is just being called a fool. And that container turned black and moldy like a cancerous condition. The container that was thanked grew a beautiful golden color said to be a beneficial bacteria. I have heard that one experiment was done where the container that turned black and moldy was then thanked for a month, and it turned back to being white or gold, and the gold said to be a beneficial bacteria. And this is an experiment we can each do. Now here on your screen, you'll see the one on the left is you full, and the one on the right was thank you. And you can see the labels because I'm going to show you a bunch of these. You can see this is different families doing this, different labels. And so, yes, we can shine the light on, a person who's in a negative environment, and because this is what's probably happening inside their body, this cancerous, negative, dark condition happening, and the light can help to counteract that, and maybe completely, I don't know. But, we also have to clean up the environment too. Pasteur said on his deathbed, being the father of the germ theory, which meant that he's the one that said, go chase the bacteria, go chase the virus, go chase the fungus, right? Well, on his deathbed, he said, I had it wrong, basically. It's the environment. And so, we have to be really careful of the environment that we live in, that our family lives in, and do what we can to keep the energy in a higher state. But the power of words is incredible. So here's another one with thank you. Here's another one, you fool. You see each time. Look at this one on the left. You fool was black. Thank you was white. Stayed white. I'm sorry. Kept it white also. When my daughter was little, we did this experiment. She suffered through this for about 3 days. And she was about 10 years old. And she found it absolutely painful to call the rice stupid or whatever word we were using. I think we were calling the white, instead of you fool, we were telling that you're really stupid and blah, blah, blah. And she absolutely could not do it, which it really warmed my heart that she could not. It was rice, okay, but so we didn't get all the way through it. I fussed at it for a little while, and I found it was not a pleasant experiment to do. So we abandoned it. But these other families went through with it, and you can see they all came up with the same uh, result, and that is words have power, and words can uplift and heal, or they can kill and destroy. So I'll go through this because of time. We need to go very quickly through this. We're really out of time, but I'm going to go a little over. Yes, EMFs have electromagnetic frequencies have a hard effect on the detrimental effect most of the time on water and on our energy field. But, here Dr. Emoto did an experiment where he tied a cell phone to water and he put the word love and gratitude on it, and it was able to form the crystals. Whereas the one that didn't have love and gratitude on it, it couldn't form the crystals. He did that with a microwave, he did that with a computer, he did that with the cell phone, all the same thing. So what does that mean? That means that we should remember to say thank you to our coworkers, thank you to our family, thank you for making that lunch, and show love and gratitude. It makes a difference. And even if we can't say it with our mouth, to say it in our thoughts and certainly in the written word. That's the computer. So now, Dr. Emoto, we're going to wrap it up with this. He wanted to look at the power of prayer, because obviously prayer, we're saying words or thinking words. So he said, well, what difference does prayer make? This was the water at the Fujiwara Dam before the prayer. And it looks like a face in agony. He got this shaman. Oh, well, I don't know if it was a shaman. It was a holy person. I don't know what they call them in Japan. But he got a holy person to pray over the dam and the water, and then they took the sample. And look at this. It is absolutely gorgeous. And he said, before the prayer, the water of the dam was dirty. We sampled the water, whose crystal yielded a shape like a person's face in agony and suffering. We took another photograph of the water after the prayer. The crystal was sparkling with the halo in the center. So, we think about cleaning up our planet and the landfills and the waters and everything, landfill by landfill, chemical by chemical, but we're not going to do it that way. We're going to do some of it that way. We're going to do it on an energy level. That's the good news, because all of us can pray, intend and speak over water and speak over the animals and speak over the children and speak over ourselves and pray over ourselves. And we're doing something very positive. So Dr. Emoto said, well, maybe it's just holy people that can have this effect upon the water. What about regular people? So he got a bunch of regular people, and he wanted to pray it over Lake Biwa. And these are 4 different water samples of Lake Biwa. It was a polluted lake by him. And right after the prayer, with just he wanted to get like 3,000 people. He ended up with like 330, I think, around this lake. And right after that, the water was starting forming the crystals. And 6 months later, he said that the water was actually showing the effect of water purification. And that's from prayer. So I'm a big advocate for prayer. The more I know about prayer, the more I pray. Okay. Microwaves very hard on the energy field, but we're going to eat stuff or drink stuff that's been in the microwave. So when it comes out, thank it, call the energy back with gratitude, the energy, and thankfulness, the energy returns. Hannah always said, energy always wants to return to its source. Call the energy back. So water, nuclear power plant, it was all right, but look what it thinks about hydroelectric plant. Really beautiful. So we can't pretend any longer that the words we think, speak, or write are meaningless. Words have the power to uplift or destroy, to heal or to harm. Words are energy vibrating at their own unique frequency. because everything is energy. So we have to have the wisdom to cherish the precious words that we speak, that we think, that we write. For in the beginning, there was the word. And it's up to you. It's up to you. It's up to me. It's up to each one of us to pay attention to the words that we're thinking, speaking, writing. Here's wisdom. Isn't that beautiful? Water likes that word. So what can we do? We have to become better stewards of our own energy field. Do what you can to understand energy so that you can help to heal the world by making the energy field around you clearer, lighter. And look, lighter, underline that, because those of us with light therapy devices, or access to them, lighter. If all of this is about lightening up and we have access to light therapy, we're literally flooding the system, the energy field, the body, the physiology with light, the main nutrient of the cell, plus the thing that cleanses the whole energy field and brings us in, helps us to bring, go into alignment. So, do what you can so that the energy field around you is clearer and it's lighter and more uplifting to everyone and everything around you. When everyone does this all the time, that's when we're going to have peace on earth. When peace on earth is not going to come because there's a new law that got put on the books. It's going to become because we're all managing the love and gratitude and energy in our own lives. So understanding energy and managing it with consciousness puts the power of that consciousness in your own hands. Here's our contact information. I hope I've connected this enough to our light therapy. For me, light therapy I considered it, and still do, a gift from God, because it's the easiest modality I have ever used. In that you just, for the system that we use, the Inlight system, put these pads on your body, you turn them on, and I just feel uplifted right away, especially when I put the brilliant light cap on now too. But whatever your device is, you're literally, with light therapy, donating photons of light. You're correcting distortions in the energy field. You're clearing out a lot of the garbage and the lower, denser, darker vibrations out of the field. When you flip on the lights, you don't have to go chase darkness away. Just bring the light in. That's not that you don't want to. I don't mean to say that sometimes it's not appropriate to tell the darkness to go. But what I'm saying is, yeah, that's appropriate sometimes when it's in the energy field. But how powerful is it to just turn on the light? Bring in the light in every way that we can. And with light therapy, it's really simple. So here's our contact information. Remember to go to our website, lightenergytrainingseminars.us, to see when we have our different certification programs. And we're going to be adding other courses besides light therapy certification. So check us out. But I'll ask you, are there any questions now before we close?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
This is Linda. So the light machines, do they ever have to be tested or recalibrated? Or is there any harm that can be done if they're not functioning correctly?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm assuming you're talking about Inlight,
It's an Avalon.
Okay, so if it was the Avalon that was made by David Malone and not the Chinese version, then it's not. You can send them in, but I've never heard of a person needing to send them in to get them recalibrated or tested. It's just whether they're continuing to work or not. I've been around since those days. Very few times have I ever had an issue with a controller, but when I did, it wasn't a matter of recalibrating it. It was a matter of maybe one of the ports didn't work. So I don't know if I'm answering your question or not, but as long as it's working, it should still be working if it's one of David Malone's.
Okay, and then so I don't know if mine was Chinese or David Malone. I
If
know
you if you take a picture of it and send it to me at the phone number that you see on the screen right here, 720-331-4385, I'll be able to tell you.
Okay. Okay.
Okay?
All right.
All
Thanks.
right.
I have a question.
Yes.
What is the best way to clean the lights after several usages from several different people?
Could you go get the shovel? I'm going to show you how I do it. Now you could use like baby wipes or anything with alcohol in it. I personally don't like isopropyl alcohol. It has its own issues, and I don't like using synthetic chemicals. We use this. We use Shackley germicide wipes. Somebody's got something going on in the background. You might want to mute yourself. And I just, take one of the wipes out like this and take the pad. Could you grab a pad? And I'll just show you how I do it, because this will kill 99.99% of the germs without killing you. And it's a natural, but at the same time, it's very effective. I know people that use a wand that, kills germs. So I just take it and I just wipe it just like this. Okay, you can also use those, if you're using it out in public and not just in your own home with your, family and friends, you can use the plastic sleeves. I visited a cancer clinic in Mexico, and what they had all their patients, and I will use the word patients because they were physicians, and for us, we use the words clients, but they had the big saran wrap, like the commercial size saran wrap, and their patients would just come wrap this in saran wrap and then use it and then take it off at the end, and they were all of them using the light therapy. Now for us, we have to say, don't use the lights over the site of a known cancer. That's a tumor. That's a contraindication. But I wanted to bring that up because that's something that I actually saw. But that's how I clean it. And did I answer your question as far as that goes?
Yes, you did. Since we're talking about energy, I didn't know if some of the chemical energy and that would transfer over to.
Okay, we had to mute somebody because we were getting a lot of background noise. So in my experience, I will talk about my experience. I often take the lights, and this one's not plugged into a controller right now, but I come into the office and I'll turn these on and just leave them up because I know it's donating photons of light to my environment, but also know it's helping to clear the environment. And in my experience, when you're doing that, it's also clearing the potential energy that might have stayed behind, after you cleaned it, but in the energy field. I haven't had any carryover energy issues that I am aware of that anybody's ever reported. If you think you do, then, I power the spoken word. I just tell it to go. Like no energy can stay behind from one person to another and just command it not to stay. That's how I would do it. Yeah. Any other? And thanks for the question. Any other questions? Okay, so I'll close with saying that, as I said before, I do think the light therapy is a gift from our source, a gift from God. It is such a simple modality. When my children were 3 years old, they could put the lights on themselves. Okay, and you're not going to hurt someone using the lights. There's very few contraindications, most of them. And one of them is if someone has migraines or seizures stimulated by lights, well, you certainly wouldn't use the lights. If they have some sensitivity to lights, well, you probably wouldn't use them. Over the site of a known cancer, you wouldn't use them. Or they could ask their doctor, and then that's in their hands, not yours. Over the womb, if the woman's pregnant. Why? Just because nobody wants to find out that wasn't a good idea. Light therapy is very, very safe. The device that we use is a in-light system, but like I said, we have a couple of other different, like the quantum wave laser, and we have a couple of other little pin lights and things like that. But all of our devices, or safe to use. And in my opinion, they're increasing the energy field, and just very easy. That's the thing, is how easy, and I'll talk about in light, how easy it is to use, and that the benefit, it's incredible what I've seen in these 8 years or so that I've been using these devices. And I've been in the field, I've been teaching for 30 years in the field of energy medicine or natural healing. And literally, when I got this device, I felt like I must have been a really good person for God to have given me such a gift of such an easy modality, because I teach the biofeedback, and that takes weeks or months to get people comfortable to run in their device, wonderful devices, but some people might take a year for them to get comfortable. Light therapy, I can get somebody comfortable using a light therapy device in a half an hour or less. So, any other questions? Hopefully this helps you to understand your light therapy device and the point that I was trying to make, that I always am trying to make with our students with the light therapy, is look at what you have in your light therapy device. It goes so far beyond the release of nitric oxide in the body. It goes so far beyond a reduction of pain and inflammation or an increased circulation. So much more is happening on an energy level that you will never know. If there was a thought form hanging out here that was going to make a person have a dread disease, and you put the cap on or you put the lights on somewhere, because it does have a systemic effect, you'll never know how much you cleared out of that information field, of that energy field. You'll never know, nor do you need to know. What you help to do is to get that person reconnected to where they can tap into that big battery in the sky that we call source energy or God. You help them to get reconnected. I know so many of you have had people have extraordinary spiritual experiences just having the face mask on. Okay, so put the lights on and turn them on. I mean, you've got an amazing gift to share with people in light therapy. So thank you for your kind attention. I will say also that it makes a difference the state you're in as the practitioner when you're going to put the lights on people. So you want to make sure you're above the line before you attempt to make a difference with the person with any modality. And if you can't get your energy above the line, then remove yourself when your person's having their therapy, and you'll find the light therapy session, and you'll find that you have better results, or they have better results, or better yet, put yourself under the lights first before you put somebody else. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the webinar. Thank you. Come back and see us for some of our others. And check out our seminar schedule for different certification programs in the future. Thanks.